Hello, I'm Cath Vincent. Welcome to the show. Today we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energise and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
In the house tonight, we have Carly Shorter from the Venus Network with ways to amp up your networking. Also with us is social media expert Kate Nankiville with tips on getting the best from LinkedIn. And we'll be joined by pilot, world jet ski record holder, author and all-round good guy Jeremy Burford, telling us what it takes to succeed. And in our Wild Records slot, Jessie Wild will be introducing us to cool music from JT to round off a show to wake up your wow. So Carly, thanks for coming in today.
My pleasure.
So tell me how networking has changed in the last 10 years.
It's basically, networking came from the old way to network was about going to an event, whatever you want to do, and it was about shelling out as many business cards as you possibly can. And it was, sure, get to know as many people as you can, and it was very much a what's in it for me attitude.
Because really, giving someone a business card isn't a relationship, is it?
Well, it's not, no. And networking now is more about formulating those relationships. And it really does depend on the depth of relationship, that's how networking can work more effectively for you.
Yeah. So you're the operations manager for Venus Network Group,
I
and
am.
that's just for women.
It is. It's a networking community for women in business.
Yeah. So why have a specific network just for women?
Because we figured that that's our unique point of difference, and there are plenty of other options for men and women, and Venus is different because it is about celebrating the feminine way of doing business, and that's about collaboration instead of competition, and it's less about what's in it for me and more about how can I help you. What are you looking for in your business at the moment?
Yeah. So what would your tips be for somebody going along to a networking event?
Oh, absolutely get intentional. You know, so much of what we do is automatic, and very rarely do people go along to an event and go, right, this is what I want to get from this event or this experience.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say, set your intention and think about your purpose. So what do I want to achieve in the next half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, whatever you want to do, and set those goals so that they are achievable goals. Instead of I'm going to get my way around 50 people in this room, it's about I'm going to meet 3 new fantastic contacts that will form mutually beneficial relationships.
Do you think communication skills are getting worse because of technology?
I think it's about adapting.
Yeah.
And I would like to say no, but perhaps that the fact is that people rely more heavily on technology to communicate, and there's just too much that's missed. There's too much that you can't pick up with body language or, you know, the vocal aspect of your communication as well. Yeah,
there's no substitute, is there, for seeing somebody face to face, looking into their eyes. You know, I guess we make different judgments when we see a person.
Absolutely.
In the flesh.
Honesty, integrity, the trust value, and that's when networking needs to be really powerful. When you know someone and like them and trust them, it's much easier then to refer them, because let's be honest, we talk about the experiences that we have in business, and when someone's really helped you or you've had a great experience, you're going to talk about it. Yeah. And the same when you've had a bit of a rubbish experience too, you're going to talk about that. And that is about the communication, but it's about being conscious of your communication as well, and responsible for your communication.
So let's say you go along to a networking event, you know, it's not something you're used to doing, maybe you feel a bit nervous. What would your advice be?
Okay.
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 Draw a breath is the first thing, obviously.
Definitely. Breathing helps every time. And basically, I know that sounds really silly, but it is. We've just talked about your intention and your purpose, but just calm yourself down by taking those solid breaths before you get in there, because the fear, your body, when you're under duress and whatever stress it might be, and networking's just one example of that, your body's in that fear response and it's doing the whole fight, flight, freeze, what do I do? And to make sure your networking's effective, you can't really flee the scene and you can't really freeze at the scene. So let's just get involved and do it. And it's kind of like feel the fear and do it anyway. And just know that the more you do it, the more confident you will become. And talk to people who are great at networking and find out what their keys are.
Yeah. So how do you go up to a person? You know, it seems that every person in the room is talking to someone already. What should you do in that moment? It's
what great networkers do, whether they're conscious about it or not conscious, is that they strike up conversation to establish common ground.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We're like, hey, Cath, where are you from? And sure, the weather is one of those go-to icebreakers. Yeah. And if you need to talk about the weather first, that's great. But then make sure that you're prepared with some keys that you can move from weather into. So tell me, why do you love what you do, Cath?
Brilliant.
And
I love the way you phrase that question, because there's emotion in it. Why do you love what you do is completely different to, so what do you do?
Hello, I'm Carly, and
yes, you are.
yeah, and I've got nothing else to say, and it kind of doesn't go anywhere from there.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you can talk to people in the queue for a cup of tea, can't you?
Networking happens everywhere, and it's having that, being conscious and being mindful that you're interested in people, because you don't know who I know, I don't know who you know, but it'll be a matter of going, well, what are you looking for at the moment and how can I help you? Yeah. And that's what will be memorable, because when it comes to networking, people won't necessarily remember what you said, but they absolutely remember how you made them feel.
Mm-hmm. So in summary, take a breath, set your intention, and really be open to talking to anybody and seeing what you can do for them rather than what they can do for you.
Absolutely. That will have a profound effect on your confidence when networking, and also the effect of growing your own business.
Fabulous. Thanks for all that advice, Carly. A great pleasure having you here today.
Thank you.
Thanks. So welcome, Kate. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Cath. Lovely to be here.
We just heard from Carly about face-to-face networking, and you're a specialist in online networking.
I am.
How does that differ?
Well, I'm a LinkedIn and social selling specialist, so it differs in the magnitude of what's possible. So LinkedIn is a great platform to leverage your networking activity to take hold of, I guess, whatever area that you're looking for in terms of seeking to grow a business.
Yeah. So when you say magnitude, what sort of scale are we talking?
The scale of wherever you want to go. So like, for instance, if your business was based here in Auckland, you might be all about finding clients or customers in Auckland. But if you also wanted to reach out to the world, whether it be the US or South America or Europe, you can grasp that. There are over 313 million members on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's a lot of people to network with.
It is a lot of people, and they're joining at 2 per second.
Wow.
Which is incredible.
Right, so while we've been running, how many is that have just joined? How fantastic.
Yeah, quite a number.
So, but how can you really get to know a person online?
It's like the real world. So what I do, I always recommend with my clients, think about being online and act online just as you would do in the real world. Use your charm and ability to connect. So Carly was talking about knowing, liking and trust, and that's really important online as well. People won't fall in love with you and your business just by connecting on LinkedIn. You need to build rapport and build a relationship. Yeah. So the ways to do that are to share. I always talk about giving before you get on LinkedIn, which is really important, because people aren't going to come swimming to your business unless you actually do something. So that you can do things like you can endorse them for the skills that they have, you can write recommendations for what it is that they do, you can post useful content that your ideal clients would find useful or would learn something from. There's a whole different raft of ways of being able to give.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it picks up on what Carly said about giving before you get. It's what's in, not just what's in it for me, but what's in me for you, I guess.
Absolutely, it's essential
in
order to create results on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Just being there isn't enough.
But so many people set up a LinkedIn page and then don't do anything with it. Maybe me, not saying.
Yeah.
But, you know, what would your advice be for them? Because there's quite a lot of work in it, isn't there?
First of all, I'd say be completely comfortable with that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you. But what I do say is that being there isn't enough. So having an incomplete profile on LinkedIn and only accepting invitations to connect is a bit like going to the largest ever networking event on the planet, that's planet Earth, in your daggy old track pants and standing in the corner with a glass of wine, even a nice Chardonnay, and expecting results to happen.
Oh, that's me. Yeah. My daggy track pants, that is me.
Just being there isn't enough.
Yeah.
You need to take some action. But having said that, there are many people in the situation that you're describing and they can learn how.
So what would be some simple tips? Let's say someone's watching this and they're thinking, whoa, I don't even have a profile. There's all this untapped market that I could reach into, but I really don't know how.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the first things that happen, like I review people's profiles all the time and I review groups of profiles. The key things that I see most often that people are missing, they don't have a professional headshot. Get a professional headshot. It's really important, a photo. Don't just take one with your selfie, that's not enough.
Yeah.
And make sure you're looking nice and appropriate for the business that you're in. Get a summary section on your profile. Again, many people don't even know what that is, so that's fair enough, but you need one to describe what it is that you do in your business or in your role. And in addition to that, another really big gap that people have on their profiles that they don't have what is called a recommendation on their LinkedIn profile. And a recommendation is like a testimonial for what it is that you do professionally. So when other people come and check you out, and they do check you out, that will then speak widely of what it is that you do and how you do it so well.
And how do you get a recommendation?
You can ask for one from the people who know what it is that you do professionally, or you can give one to someone else.
Right.
And there's a methodology on LinkedIn.
Tell me a bit more about social selling. What does that actually mean in its widest sense?
Sure. So when people join real world networking groups, they want to often expand their business. They want to create opportunities, leads and new clients. So social selling is a way of creating leads and finding new customers online using platforms like LinkedIn, and specifically that's the area that I tend to work in. So being able to find your ideal customers, make connections with them and take that into the real world and create business opportunities. That's the process of social selling. What's included is a range of different activities, which can be about what you put in your profile, and it can also be about posting useful content.
Yeah. Another term I've heard you use is blended networking.
Sure.
What does that mean?
Blended networking, well, it's great. Like what Carly was talking about, that real world, that's fantastic. And I love working with experienced professionals, one might say older than probably the youth demographic, if you like, because they have wonderful business experience. They know how to be in meetings, they know how to act at conferences and events and networking events, and they know how to communicate effectively in business. They've got all these lovely skills. But what they don't know yet is how to take that and make use of it online. Yeah. So when you take your offline or real world networking, combine it with online, that arrives at what I call blended networking, and that's about the leveraging. It's about the world of your choosing, really. Where do you want to go with your business? Cath, do you Google people after you meet them or before you meet them?
I do, and I connect to people as well.
Excellent.
Did you Google me?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
Is it all right?
You were fine. One of the key things about you Googling people or other people Googling us is that when they do so, your LinkedIn profile is delivered as one of the highest results by Google. Right. LinkedIn makes sure that happens. So one of the things to be really super aware of is that when people are Googling you, they're finding you on LinkedIn. So if you're currently just there, and let's just say your profile might be good, bad or ugly, depending on what's there, that's what people are finding. So LinkedIn presents an opportunity to really craft and look after your professional reputation online. And that's what I help people with.
So how much time would you spend on it typically every day, week or month?
Oh, I spend a lot more than the average person, but I would recommend if someone was actively involved in business development for their business, probably spending half an hour minimum a day would be appropriate, because if you're literally involved in business development, you'd be doing at least that. Yeah. And then spending a bit more time once a week, maybe an hour, focused on some other types of activities would be appropriate.
Okay, half an hour a day wouldn't be too tricky for a lot of people.
Yeah, it wouldn't, but you know, it depends what your role is. That I'm talking about people who are business owners or responsible for creating new business for the businesses that they are in. Yeah. Someone who is perhaps in another role, maybe they wouldn't spend so much.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks for all those tips and advice, that's awesome.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Cath.
So Jeremy, I'm so happy you're here with us today. Thanks for coming in.
Great to be here, Cath.
Now listen, you are the founder and director of an organisation called Ski NZ. Tell me about that.
It's a jet ski event that runs for a week, and we run it every year, and it's to raise funds for the Melanoma Foundation, and also to raise the profile of the Melanoma Foundation. I had melanoma in 2006, so it's close to the heart, and it's also something that kills about 300 New Zealanders every year.
Wow, that's huge.
The real tragedy about that is that 90% of them didn't need to die if it was detected early.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what we're trying to do, is educate people about melanoma. So the jet ski event runs for a week, and we do it around a different part of the New Zealand coastline every year, and coming up in March we're doing Napier to Tauranga around East Cape.
You're doing Napier to Tauranga on a jet ski?
Yes, over 7 days.
Oh, okay.
That's not so bad.
Still a lot. How far would that be?
It's about 700 kilometres.
Wow, that's got to be, that's going to make your butt hurt, isn't it?
Mine's sort of all worn out from doing it before, but I'm sure some of the new people might suffer a little bit.
We've got a special cushion for you there, haven't we?
That's right. Yeah.
So, and how many years have you been running this for?
This will be the 3rd year coming up in next March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been fairly successful already. We raised 93,000 in the last one. Previous March.
93,000.
Yeah.
From a week's jet skiing event.
Well, you get some wonderful people come along on it, and they're so generous, and they're all dedicated to the cause. It's just amazing to watch.
How amazing. And how does it work? So what actually happens at the event?
Well, we just go riding every day for maybe 100 kilometres, and then we might leave Napier. We're leaving Napier on day one, and then we'll end up at Mahia Beach for the first night, and then the second night we'll end up at Gisborne, and we're going to hold a charity auction in the fishing club there at Gisborne on the second night. Hopefully we'll raise a fair bit of money towards the total from that. And just every night we end up in a different place. It's really fun, very social, and everyone has a great time.
So can you enter as an individual, or is it in teams? How does that part work?
You just enter as an individual, just front up with your jet ski and on a trailer, and someone to drive it for you, drive your car for you while you're riding, and it's too easy.
Yeah, sounds good. Now listen, you have a number of world records for jet skiing.
I do. I've got 3. I guess the one I'm most proud of is the 24-hour longest distance record, 2,287 kilometres.
In 24 hours? From start to finish?
Yes.
So no breaks?
No breaks.
No sleeping?
No.
No going to the bathroom?
Oh, I had to do that.
So how, I mean, do you stop? Do you have pit stops?
We had to stop every hour for a refill.
Right, okay.
And I had a setup so that I could go to the toilet off the back of the ski while I was riding, so no more detail required on that.
Oh, no.
Same as a glider pilot would have.
So listen, and you are a pilot. You're an actual airline pilot, is that right?
Yes, I fly 747s for Qantas.
Well, I heard a rumour that you were only 30 when you started flying 747s.
Oh, that was when I became a captain. Yeah, I started as a second officer when I was 24, and when I was 30 I made captain.
That seems awfully young. Is it?
No, it was at the time, but it's it's kind of it's a lot of hard work, but it's also the luck of the draw, depending on how the airline expands at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So tell me a bit about what kind of skills and attitude it takes to achieve those world records.
I think it's something I got from the job, and that is the ability to focus for a very long time, even when you're tired, and not sort of relax and go off task.
So for 24 hours, there must be moments where you think, actually, I really want to sleep right now.
Oh, no, definitely. But if you do that, I mean, it was constant fear as well, so that keeps you awake.
So the fear of...
Well, it wasn't so bad during the daytime, but at night it was pretty tight where we were riding, and I didn't have any lights or anything, so I was basically just going on memory and on a GPS at 110 kilometres an hour the whole time, full throttle.
Wow. So it's not even just the endurance of staying awake, it's actually the hazards of the landscape as well.
That's right.
Okay.
But the physical side of it is nothing compared to the mental side of it.
Yeah, the mental side. So what kind of thoughts went through your head?
Well, got to stay alive. I have a family. I have children.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Well,
I guess,
yeah.
You set goals, but that was to raise awareness for the Melanoma Foundation as well. And when you have something you're trying to achieve as well, it makes it a whole lot more important and also easier to achieve.
Yeah, do you know, I'm always saying to clients, you can do anything if the why is big enough.
That's right.
You know, if your goal, your reason, family's a really good reason to stay alive, right?
Absolutely.
So as well as all your jet ski adventures, you've written a book.
That's right. I wrote one after I rode around New Zealand in 2006 to raise awareness of skin cancer. So it's basically about the ride, but it also includes a whole lot of other interesting stuff, a bit of stuff about flying.
So, and is it facts and figures? Is it your experiences? What's the flavour of the book?
It's a little bit of a history lesson on New Zealand's coastline and a bit of geography and all my experiences and emotions going around that 23-day ride, which was, you know, it was at times terrifying and other times really fun.
Yeah. So we get to enjoy that roller coaster with you by reading the book.
That's right.
Perfect. But your track record of success goes back a long way, doesn't it? You were, you know, early in teens, you were doing athletics.
That's right. Yeah, I was a New Zealand middle distance champion from my age.
Yeah.
It was just something I found I was pretty good at, but I also had to work very hard. So, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thought, because from the outside, it looks very easy.
No, there's a lot of work involved. There's not a great deal of natural talent here, I can tell you. It's all hard work.
I think he's been a bit humble, everyone.
But I'm easily bored, so what I've done through my life, and I'm really happy looking back on it, is that when I've achieved something really good, then I say, okay, what's next? And I go somewhere completely different. And so there was the athletics, and then there was the flying, and then there was the jet ski world records, and there's been some crazy jet ski events along the way as well that I've done, personal ones like the London attempt to ride from London to Sydney.
On a jet ski?
Yes.
And how did that end?
It didn't end well, actually. It ended in a Greek helicopter, a Greek Air Force helicopter in a storm in the Mediterranean. So, but that probably wasn't the most funny part of that whole ride, is that we got our jet skis stolen in Bulgaria for 2 days. Yes, and the funny part about that was, well, it wasn't really funny, but looking back on it was that we weren't even supposed to be in Bulgaria, because at that area on the Danube River, Romania's on the north side and Bulgaria's on the south, and we'd cleared customs into Romania but not Bulgaria. But because there was no towns when it got dark, we snuck into this little town in Bulgaria. In the morning the jet skis were gone, and so we had to call the police and say, well, we've had our jet skis stolen. Well, it didn't take them long to figure out that we weren't supposed to be there, so because they didn't have any criminals to lock up, they threw us in the slammer.
So you spent time in prison as well?
Well, yes, only a
Jeremy's
short time.
done time.
I look like that sort, don't I?
You look so suspicious.
I know.
We have all sorts in here, don't worry about it.
Yes.
So listen, in summary, this track record of success and this constant pursuit of goals, what advice would you give to somebody? Because it's easy to be successful once or a little bit here and there, but the continuity is difficult. What advice would you give people?
Well, if you read all the literature on it, it says set realistic goals, but I don't. I like to set goals that are almost impossible.
Yeah.
And then even if I don't quite make it there, I do really well anyway.
Yes.
And that's my secret.
Shoot for the moon and you might hit the stars.
That's right.
Perfect. So you heard that from Jeremy right here today. Shoot for the moon, you may hit the stars. Thanks, Jeremy.
My pleasure.
So Jesse, welcome back to the studio.
It's great to be back. I almost didn't make it though, because it's such great weather for jet skiing.
Of course, you're a bit of a jet ski fiend yourself, aren't you?
I certainly am. I bought one last year, especially to compete in the jet ski challenge.
Ah, in Jeremy's challenge. And how was it?
It was fantastic. I just held on and prayed. And 600 kilometres later, we made it to the other end.
600 kilometres, wow. That must have been amazing.
It was fantastic.
Did you get a sore butt?
Yes.
So tell me, who's in the studio this week?
This week we have one of my absolute favourite singer and songwriters. His name is JT.
Yeah. And you guys go back a while, is that right?
We do. We met 1992 at a place called the Blues Barn.
Yeah.
I had my first band, Acoustic Attitude, and that's where I met JT, and he is one of the most incredible rhythmic guitar players and singers and songwriters that I've ever seen.
Fantastic. So we're going to have some blues today.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I won't return your call when you try to ring. You've been making me mad, baby, 'cause you're hounding me. I won't open your mail, Lord, you send me a text, and then you knock on my door when you want. You gonna jump, Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. Lord, let's jump. Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. Oh, baby, gonna jump. Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. You don't wanna go out. I don't wanna stay in love. I don't wanna talk about how your day been, yeah. Just cook me some eggs, yeah. I don't wanna eat, yeah. I just wanna repeat, Lord, baby, what we did last night. Gonna jump, yeah. Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. Oh, baby, gonna jump. Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. Oh, baby, gonna jump. Lord, baby, gonna jump. Lord, baby, let's jump, yeah. Come on, baby, let's jump, honey. Lord, baby, gonna jump, alright. Lord, baby, gonna jump, yeah. Oh, baby, gonna jump, jump, Lord, on the bone. Alright. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thanks JT. Have a seat.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I love that. I feel all kind of bluesy.
That was my pleasure.
So that's your own song.
Nice to see you, brother.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I wrote that about 2-3 years ago.
Let's see your gorgeous face.
Oh, do you have to?
Hi, welcome. Pleased
Thank
to see
so
you.
much. Yeah, it's great to be here.
So it's full of attitude, that song. It's like, you're not going to take my calls, you know.
Yeah. I was just like, when I wrote the song, I was trying to be in the third person, you know, and look at how relationships work, and really at the end of the day, it boils down to one thing. So it's just a bit of a play on that, you know.
Yeah. So you've been a singer-songwriter for a long time. When did you start?
Well, I started late actually, because I started my career started when I was 6. I was forced to.
That's pretty late, right?
Yeah, I was forced by my parents, as all parents do when they do with their children, to live their lives through for the children. So I performed. I was going to a Catholic school back in those days, and even though my parents were Pacific Island, they decided I needed to sing a Māori song at the town hall. It was me and another guy. He sang Scottish Soldier, and I wanted to sing Scottish Soldier because I preferred that song than the song that I had to sing. But anyway, so from 6 onwards, I was always in productions, and even when I went to intermediate and then to high school, and then I went into bands after that. I was always playing, even though I wasn't playing professionally, you know, at parties. And I remember at times when because I used to play the piano a little bit, and back in those days I used to go to the some of the bars, the public houses in those days, and I used to play the piano. Yeah. And people started buying me drinks, so so I suppose slowly, I always say to my children that music calls you. It's not that you call music. Yeah. So it always called me, always. So eventually I just went back at the age of 30.
And I love that sentiment that the music calls you.
Yeah. Well, I've said that my son, he's off to university next year. He's going to Victoria University. And at one stage he contemplated playing music, and I said, nah. And he goes, why not? And I said, well, if you wanted to play music, you'd be playing it now. Yeah. And he had no inclination to play music. So I just try to encourage him to concentrate on his academic studies, and it's proof is in the pudding. He's off to university to study commerce. Yeah, cool. So and it's good that he's able to go on his journey and do what he wants to do without any peer pressure from.
For me, music was never ever a conscious choice. It was chosen for me, and every time I tried to stop, I just kept getting drawn back to it.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why, and I always say, unless you have that sort of passion, you're never going to last long enough in the industry to make it work.
Yeah. You have to do what you love, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, some people do it for other reasons, but for myself and for Jesse, because we've known each other that long and we're still performing after all these years. Yeah. There's not many people I could say that are still doing it now, you know, but we do it for the love of music. Yeah. You know.
Well, thanks so much for sharing your music with us today. Thanks, JT.
Thank you so much.
My thanks to all my special guests this week, to Carly, to Kate, to Jeremy, to Jessie Wild and to JT. And until next week, don't wait to wake up your wow.